My man,
How are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
Enjoying your time back in the UK?
Yeah, it's nice. A bit colder, obviously, but
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
it's
used to
nice.
it. Well, actually, to be fair, you're used to the current weather, the storms
Yeah,
and
that's
weather
it.
disruptions.
A bit of everything last week, but yeah, nice to be home, see family and that again, which has been nice. Quick pit stop though, really. I'm back out there next week, Friday.
Hmm. You
So,
come back with your dad?
well, yeah, come back with dad. Yeah, Tuesday night.
Nice,
So
nice,
yeah, no,
nice,
it's
nice.
been nice. So yeah, just a little refresh and then recharge the batteries and then back to it, which will be
Full
fun.
steam
So.
ahead, full season ahead.
Exactly right, yeah. So no, it'd be
Yeah,
good. Some good things in place coming up. So
I love
looking
it.
forward to it.
Love it. Brilliant. Well, look, dude, I really appreciate you coming on this call today.
No
Um,
worries at all.
like I said to you when I asked you to come on the call, it's more about to just celebrate you and celebrate your success in what's happened and what's changed. For people that are, or probably, yeah, probably are feeling a little bit how you felt before we worked together,
Yeah,
to see what's happened, see the journey, to see the changes in which were made and the process in which those changes were made, right? So there are no there's no pressure on right or wrong answers. It's just I'm
yeah,
not trying to like pass off, I need a good enough answers, nothing's premeditated. I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions and yeah, see where this goes. Essentially, like I said to you before, it's just going to be a bit of a chat.
yeah.
For
No, perfect. Yeah.
other people to put themselves in your shoes and see what's going on.
Oh,
But first of
100%.
all, I think just for the people that are watching and why this is relevant in understanding what has just happened, I think we're right to say that before that we started working together, you've been a pro for a fair few years, right?
Yeah, this will be my fourth season now.
Full season.
So 3 years to now, and then going into my fourth season as a pro.
Mm.
So yeah, it's
And
been a
you've obviously just, which is why we're celebrating, just secured your Sunshine Tour card, which is fucking
correct.
brilliant.
No,
And
100%.
am I right in saying that that was the second attempt?
This is my second attempt. Yeah, so I went to Q school last year, got to final stage, and then missed a cut at final stage last year. So yeah, second attempt.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I obviously learned a lot from the first one, and took some of that stuff into this week that's just gone. But yeah, no, it feels from the last couple of years, it probably kind of felt like I was in no man's land a little bit, not knowing where I was going to play next, not knowing what I was going to do next. Whereas this year, it's nice. I know exactly where I'm going to be, I know exactly how many events I've got. So it just feels like for the first year, it feels like I've actually got structure, if that makes
Mm.
sense. Like I know I'm going to play the same tour for a year now. I know what events I'll play. I know how many events I'm going to play. So it's nice for peace of mind. I'm not searching for things now. It's all come into place, which is
Yeah.
definitely like helps because you're not scratching around, getting itchy feet. You know exactly. When you're resting, you can rest now because you know you've got these events. And there's
Yeah.
obviously a lot of opportunity that comes with that as well.
100%. It's just certainty, right? Like I think you can. I'm not the professional golfer, and you are, and I think I can still appreciate that in these like first few years, they're probably like the most important years of establishing yourself on tour, getting somewhere to play, getting somewhere to consistently play, and not have to travel around everywhere and feel like it is a bit messy. So I suppose for you now, it's exciting to just be like, well, I'm going to be in one place. There's still going to be an element of travel. I mean, Africa's bloody huge. Um,
Exactly.
but it's like, right, one tour, one goal, um, one place, which is
Yeah.
brilliant, which is probably why it's
No,
been quite
definitely.
exciting for you.
Well, look, a start-up professional golfer, that's what you're looking to do. You're looking to find a tour to play on. This is what you practice for, really, to get yourself into situations like this. So to know that I've done that and to know that now I've got a year to do it is it's refreshing. It makes you feel good and things like that. So the last 3 years of the pro have not been great. So for me now, I feel like the hard work's paid off, but I'm not trying to get complacent for the year.
Mm,
It's just the start of it, really. I want to go and push on from this. It's not like I've got my card and now I can chill out. I'm still going to put the full foot down on the throttle and try
Yeah.
and
It's a
I,
stepping stone, right? Like, so it is a
exactly.
stepping stone. So right, well, now I can do this, and watch what I do now. You know,
Exactly
hold my
right. Yeah,
beer.
just a big confidence booster. You can do it when you need to. So I'm going to take that into the rest of the year and just kind of build off of that. I've got a good. The golf I've shown to myself last week is definitely where it needs to be, and that's when times get tough, I can kind of feed off of that definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's what we do as humans, right? Like, if we're ever in a position of uncertainty, or there is a little bit of pressure, I say a little bit of pressure, an amount of pressure, a decent amount of pressure, we look into the past just to see, oh, is there anything that I can have from the past that shows me I can deal with this, that I can handle this? And essentially, what you're
Definitely.
saying is you have that now, and that helps with your trust, that helps with your self-belief, that helps with your confidence, and that's everything you're going to need going into this new threshold, which is brilliant.
Yeah, 100. No, I completely agree. Yeah, you need that. You don't get confidence from no result. You know, what I mean, you need the results to build the confidence. You can tell yourself, but you're never gonna fully believe it until you actually do it. So
Hmm.
for that, I've got that park now, and I can just use that when I need to.
Yeah, and I can imagine with your dad there, that must have been quite special.
Ah, very special. Yeah, yeah, very special. To
Yeah.
do it with that's the biggest part of my golf career so far. So to be able to do it with him there, that's a memory that I'm going to have forever, and he will
Hmm.
have forever. So no, it couldn't have happened in a better way. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I just not to make this about me, but just quickly, I remember just so I can relate to that. I remember when I was going for my final exams as a ski instructor, and it was a race. It was essentially, similar outcomes, if you like, from making the cut, not making the cut. It was like you make the time or you don't make the time, and if you're in the
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
you get a pass or a foul. And I failed it 13 times. Actually, I passed it on the 13th attempt. Now, when you've got a lot of backing and support from your family, um, and essentially they're the ones that are helping you get to this certain point. I remember when I passed it and I rang my dad, and I'll never forget that phone call. I was,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
remember I was like, because you have to wear a cat suit and stuff, like how you see the Olympic skiers wear. I remember just sort of like taking it off, taking all the padding off, and I was on the phone skiing down. I was just in tears. I was like, I've done it, 13 attempts,
No,
I've finally done it. So I can imagine there was a few tears and some words exchanged there at the end.
no, yeah, definitely. I think where I've kind of made it. I finished 21st place this week, so I wasn't guaranteed when I walked off the golf course. So we didn't kind of get that sort of that side of it because we didn't know, right? So we
Mm,
had another hour, but there was a few tears and things like that, which was nice. But very, yeah, like you said, very special moment to have.
yeah,
Very
love it.
special.
Brilliant. Well, look, dude. Now people are obviously aware of what's just happened and why we're on this phone call. Um, Me and yourself, we worked together for a brief period around sort of the end of it was November, December, and January of 25 into 26, which was all kind of for this and for what's to come in the future. It was only really 6 weeks, a very short, intense period of working together. And I
Yeah.
just want to show people what happened, right? So before we get into the details of that, I'd love for me to know and for the people watching and listening to know, before we started working together, how would you have described yourself as a golfer?
I would say I wouldn't know how to describe it in a word, but if I was going to say like I said to you the first time we spoke, I could perform in practice, but I just could not bring the same person to competitive golf. There was a
Mm,
big divide. So I could go out for fun and I could shoot the scores I needed to shoot. Everything felt really good. I put the tee in the ground in the event, and it just nothing felt the same. There was no comparison to me on the practice ground and me on the tee. So I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't really know how to explain as a golfer I was. I think it was just if there was a word, maybe very inconsistent. I
hmm
had glimmers of good stuff, and I'll put it this way: for a 3 round event, I really struggled to be able to play 3 rounds the same. I could
Yeah.
play one round maybe, and then the second day I went out, I was a different golfer. I could shoot 5 under one day and then 7 over the next day.
Mm.
And I know that is golf, and you're gonna get that, but I kind of done that every week, which
Yeah.
shouldn't happen, you know.
Mm.
And it wasn't it wasn't so much that the golf swing would ever change, but it would be the way my body felt, the way I, what thoughts I had on the day, and that very much dictated how I was going to play golf that day.
Yeah.
So if I didn't feel right, then I couldn't then go and play golf.
Yeah.
If
But
I felt good, then I could play.
when you say it was very inconsistent and like, if you didn't feel right or your thoughts weren't right, what was actually going on inside your head when things started to feel like that?
Just like I said to you, the hot, I felt very hot. My head felt really heavy. I couldn't think straight. I wasn't. And then once I got them sort of feelings, then I would tell myself it was going to be a bad day. I would tell myself I'm not going to be able to do things. I'm kind of waiting for the bad shots to come, not
Mm.
ever thinking of the good stuff. I kind of got myself in that mental state, and I couldn't get myself out of it. So whether that be, it could come on the first hole, and then I wouldn't be able to shake it off until the 18th, and then I'd come off the course, and then it would go.
Mm.
And then, so for me, before I started working for you, I had to start off well in order to play well. I couldn't have any negatives throughout the first few holes, because then it would just ruin the
Mm.
rest of the round.
Which then it just becomes this huge battle of I shouldn't be feeling like this at the start because I want to be feeling good. I want to be feeling positive.
100%.
Why should I be going out in a tournament and be thinking about bad shots all the time? You know?
Exactly, and all I would think of is how can I do all this good stuff in practice, and then get on the first tee of a tournament and can't do it. Feel like I can't hit the golf ball the way I should be able to.
Mm.
And that kind of, over the course of 1, 2, 3 years, for example, that got so in. That's all I could think of. I could never think of, like, I was going to tournaments, saying before I went to the tournaments, well, I can't play tournament golf, and then that would be the mindset going into the week. It would be like, I'm very good in practice, but I can't play tournaments. So what's the kind of point? If that makes sense.
100%. Yeah. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And I know that there'll be a lot of other people that experience exactly that without
Mm.
pressure, without tournament pressure, without there's something when it matters or something to play for. It's very easy to just go out because there's no stress, there's no nothing. It's just play. There's nothing on the line. There's nothing to lose essentially. And I
Yeah,
think a
exactly.
lot of people put that and put it themselves in such a different category when it's, well, this is a tournament now. And it's understanding the stories in which you tell yourself, and yours was very much so. Well, I don't want to give the answer away, and we'll get into that in a second, but it's almost like this isn't going to go well, you know,
No, exactly.
from
Yeah,
from
that
from
was completely
experience.
it. And, I'd see other people that were not very good in practice, and then all of a sudden, every time they step in a tournament environment, they're bundles ahead of me, and you think like,
Yeah.
how can I beat them in practice, but every time it gets to tournament, they're beating me every week and stuff. So for the first 2 years, it just didn't make sense to me, because I couldn't pinpoint what was going wrong. The thoughts were so ingrained that I just thought they were normal thoughts. It wasn't
Mm.
like I couldn't pick up on them because I was blinded by them. It was
Yeah.
the same stuff all the time. So for me to, like, when I reflect on rounds of golf, I wouldn't be able to pinpoint that. Oh, maybe, do you know what? It was probably your mindset going into the week, and it wasn't. It wasn't because of the day. It was just because what you were telling yourself on the lead up to the events.
Mm.
And from working with you, we managed to pinpoint things like that, and it's made a huge difference.
Mm. Yeah. When obviously going on, putting the tee in the ground like you said, and already thinking about, I can't get out of my head. I'm already thinking about the bad shots that I'm going to hit, making mistakes. When you were then out on the golf course, and let's say you did make a mistake, or maybe hit a shot that you didn't really want, that maybe got you in trouble, you didn't want to hit, you didn't expect to hit. What was the story in your head once that had happened?
I just put it this way: I just couldn't. I was so mentally weak. I just couldn't hit bad golf shots. So when I hit them, it would really it wouldn't really come as a surprise to me. It would be like, oh, I was waiting for that to happen, if that makes sense. I was playing rounds of golf waiting for the mistake because
Mm.
I knew there was one coming. So it's like when I'd done it, I was like, obviously I'd have a head loss and I'd have things like that and take it to the next shot. But it was like I was just playing golf with fear in them, let's
Yeah.
say.
I mean,
So,
it's one of
so
the
I was
it's
so I
one
was
of the
in
most
fear of hitting bad shots, and then when you're thinking of bad shots and when you're scared of where the ball's actually going, it's only a matter of time before that happens. And then
100%.
once that did happen, then I couldn't play aggressive because I knew it was in there, and then for the rest of the round, I would tell myself, I can't hit these golf shots, I can't do this sort of stuff. Even come down to like straightforward chips, straightforward putts. Because I was in that mental state, I would tell myself that I'm not going to be able to. It's not as easy as what it should be. And then all of a sudden, you start doing the easy things wrong, and then you're in trouble because then you're going to get hard golf shots out on the course. Simple as that. You're not going to be able to avoid them for the course of 4 round events, 3 round events, or even 18 holes. You're going to find yourself in a situation where you got a shot you don't particularly like, but then with the way I was thinking, I would find myself getting more of them shots because I
Yeah.
wasn't feeling comfortable. And then from there, it's just a downward spiral. You just like I said, you're waiting for the bad shots. And you're never telling yourself you're going to hit a good shot. You're telling yourself that the bad ones are coming.
Yeah.
So there was no positivity in my head when this was going through. There wasn't like, oh, I can make it through this. I can do that. It was just like once that happened, it was just a grind, but it wasn't a nice grind.
No. And before kind of we sort of touched base and we had our first conversation, had you tried to do anything else before? Like to deal with this fear,
I
to deal with like operating from this place of fear. Had you tried anything else?
I spoke to a few other mental coaches and psychologists and things like that. But I always struggled to open up, and I always struggled to, you know, they were asking the right questions, but for me, it was like I couldn't pinpoint what it was. I had no idea what it was at the time. I couldn't because I was so used to it. So for me, nothing really worked in that sense because they just didn't get the right answers out of me. They didn't get. I couldn't open up to them, and then I kind of didn't. I don't think I fully invested in what they were talking about. So I don't think maybe at the time when I was doing it, I was a bit in my own way, and they would tell me things. That probably, if I look back at it now, and I had the same conversation again with a bit more open mind, then I probably could have taken some more out of it. But no, as far as things go, but then I didn't have much of it. I might have had a session here and there, and then things still weren't working. So I kind of thought, well, that's not helping me. So let's park that. But I never spent enough time on it. So from the work we done, I fully invested in what we were doing, and I took on board everything. I would study, like after our calls, I would do everything you said to do, and I just made sure that I was going to take every piece of advice from you and bring that stuff to the golf course, even if it was in practice.
Mm. What do you feel was different in that sense from not being able to fully invest in, say, the other coaches, but being able to fully invest in me?
Um, I think the way you go about it is very differently. You dig deep into past past stuff. You find the root cause of where it was coming from. And to be honest with you, Josh, I think when I started working with you, I knew the mental side of my stuff was the issue. Before, I wasn't convinced it was mental. I thought it was more golf swing related and actual ability. But when I go see swing coaches and they'd say my swing looks very good, but then I wasn't performing, and then I was performing in practice, and if I looked at videos of my golf swing, it all looked pretty good. So I think when I come to you, I was like, right, I know what this side of the golf is where I'm struggling,
Mm. You
and I
sort
think
of
that helped.
you had enough of everyone telling you that you're good enough and that your swing's good
Yeah,
enough, you play good enough, you're just in your own way.
exactly. So I kind of, from the work when I started working with you, I said, right, the golf swing is now not an issue, so we'll leave that's on the side now, and from what the mental side and that aspect was like, right, this is where I need to figure it out. This is the way it's going to take where my golf is now to the next level.
Mm.
And, sitting here right now talking to you, that is exactly what it's done. 6 months later, I went and got my car. But not even
Yeah.
6 months, 3 months later.
Mm. And what do you feel from that then was the main deciding factor for you to invest fully into mental performance coaching?
Because of how much I want it. I
Mm.
want to play golf for a living. I want to be able to play. I want to be able to do that sort of stuff. I want to provide for a family from playing golf. That's my passion. So that's the whole reason why I invested in this. And like I said to you just now, I fully believe that this was the issue. I didn't, I kind of, years prior to it, I didn't believe that the mental side was the issue. I was so naive to that. And then then you start playing. I played a lot of competitive golf over the years, and it has been throughout 3 years. It's probably been 90% of the stuff I was talking about where I couldn't perform in tournaments, and I'd have that odd 10% where it just worked. So yeah, it kind of all happened at the right time, and I think from like a maturity standpoint, I kind of understood that this was the route I needed to go down.
Yeah, I mean, I vividly remember our first calling when I asked you, why'd you play the game? What do you want out of the game? Why are you here essentially? And I remember you very clearly said, so I want this to be what I do for a living. I want this to be my
Yeah,
career. I want to create a family and this supports the family and this is what I do and I don't want to do anything else.
yeah,
And
exactly.
when you are somebody that is that ambitious about making something work, you will find a way.
Yeah,
And when you've invested thousands and thousands of hours on practice and practice, you're like, why can I not just still do this thing in a tournament? It gets frustrating. And
oh, exactly.
and it does take, I always say, and I've heard it from my mentors, that timing is everything. But it's also understanding what it costs you not to invest in your head. Essentially, golf, it's you, your golf clubs, and your head, and the golf ball.
Exactly.
There's other people out there, but in a tournament environment, you're not like sort of willy-nilly talking to them as if you were doing a practice round or going out for fun. It's like, well, hold on a second, we've got a job to do, and this is my
Yeah,
job. So
no,
how do
exactly.
you make sure that the person that you are with in your head is one that you can get along with? And he's not saying, watch out for all those mistakes we're going to be making. It's about how good can this be? What's the best thing that's going to happen? And that's what I love about my
Yeah,
style, I'm here. It's what's the best that could happen. Because a lot of
yeah,
people are looking about what's the work, like something bad's going to happen, playing and operating from fear. So yeah, I love that. So in what you just said there before we move on, were there any in us having our first conversations and maybe before you'd said yes to pulling the trigger in investing in me and the coaching, were there any doubts or concerns that you had about myself, given the fact that you'd already had that experience with other coaches?
um, but yeah, I think there's always a little bit of doubt thinking of it. Is this actually the issue? Is this the problem? Am I going to get out the right things that I need to? But like I said, I think I was so ready for something like this that I was always going to take everything out of it. So I wouldn't say I've ever fully doubted that it was going to have a negative effect. I think it was only going to have a positive effect. But like I said, from doing the little bits in the past and it not helping, there's obviously always that little doubt in the back of your head thinking, well, maybe it's not going to work. But then from the first couple of calls, I got so much out of it so quickly that it was very easy for me to then, over the course of 6 weeks, just fully invest in what you were saying.
So first of all, it was just a bit of a leap of faith.
Yeah, yeah, a little bit, yeah. But I think, I was, like I said, and I'll say it again, I think I was just
Yeah,
ready to have something like this.
yeah. Okay, cool. So just because, I mean, I'm not trying to like put myself on a pedestal or say say that my coaching is the best, but I know I'm a little bit different in the way that I approach things from like what you said about, the root of the issue and the root problem and the root cause of why you're thinking and feeling like you are on a golf course. Um, in how you said it was probably a little bit different to what you did before, and you were fully invested because I went deep and I managed to get the answers out of you.
Yeah.
When we traced it back, we traced the issue, the problem state back to where it was coming from. In your words, what do you feel happened in that session?
I think I'd say it made me realise why I had the thoughts that I was having going into these events that I was playing, because it made it very clear that the thoughts that I was having were terrible, and it made it very clear where they come from. So I think I think it kind of felt like it took a little bit of weight off my shoulders in a way. It kind of got rid of them feelings pretty quickly,
Mm,
just by knowing where they were coming from and what. Because then I'll go to events. I think we started and then I played an event pretty quick afterwards, and I went to an event with knowing what I was doing. And then I realised pretty quickly, I spent so much time watching what other people were doing in the warm up and watching why are they doing things like that, whereas I actually wasn't focused on myself. So that helped straight away just to think a little bit differently.
mm. So when you say that, when you said you were thinking differently, you went to the course and that next tournament, kind of quite soon after we'd cleared some of that stuff. What was the first thing that you noticed had changed?
Not worrying about what other people were doing.
Mm.
Definitely, it was kind of like it helped me kind of zone in a little bit better. I was on the practice ground and I was hitting golf balls for a warm up, but I don't really notice anyone else around me anymore. And I think that was the main thing because I was so engrossed in what other people were doing beforehand. That's all I could see, and that's what I would do. And it kind of just helps you. I think it helps get into the zone a little bit better because you're so focused on right. What am I doing when I get to the golf course? Right, I'm putting, I'm hitting balls. I'm not worried about if someone's doing it differently. If I'm not going up there trying to talk to people or do things like that. I'm just literally standing. I'm there to warm up, and I'm there to work.
Mm.
So I think that was the big difference. Whereas before, if I look at it, I'd go to the events. I would, feel out of place. I would feel a bit sheepish. I would watch what other people were doing, and I'd start trying to copy that. And I never really had my own sort of. I never had my own warm up. I might change things because I've seen someone do something that week, and then I'd do that because they were playing well. So I was like, I was way too involved in how other people were doing it, and I
Mm.
thought that was better. Whereas that I think overall that took a toll on thoughts and things like that.
Yeah, and I remember distinctly when we went through that timeline tool, and we went back to a moment that at which in where these thoughts and feelings were born, essentially. And I remember you saying that it was to do with a very like rocky start to professional life as a golfer, right? And
Definitely,
the reason as to why you were always looking around and looking at this thing is because you were looking for clues. You weren't so sure in yourself and whether that you belonged there, right?
definitely,
And that was like a safety blanket was if I look around and see what all these other people are doing, then maybe I'll become one of these people rather than trust in yourself, If I remember
definitely.
rightly, a lot of the lessons in which you taught your younger self was you fucking deserve to be here.
Yeah, yeah, no,
You,
100%.
you're already enough. And I think once you realize that, you were then able to stop focusing on everyone else around you and
Yeah, and
fully
then just yeah,
fully
and doing your
believe
own
that
thing,
you belong there.
100%.
Yeah.
You get I think it's the first my first pro event wasn't it was terrible, in the short things I shot the worst score I'd shot for probably 5 years prior to that. And then that comes with the thoughts, was I actually ready to turn pro? Did I
Mm.
make the wrong decision? Because as soon as you turn pro, it's not simple as turning back amateur. You lose all your amateur status and stuff. So I had thoughts of that. I was, yeah, it's very, because you hope you turn pro and the transition's very easy. You wanna go there and feel like nothing's changed. But for me, everything changed.
Mm.
Nothing felt the same, and then that's what we were talking about, how the thoughts and stuff just that become the new norm.
Yeah. Well, from that moment, your subconscious and unconscious mind attached onto the belief that you don't belong there. So
Exactly right.
it's operated from a place of fear of don't mess this up because you're going to show yourself more evidence that you don't belong here and you shouldn't have turned pro so soon and you shouldn't be here. Look at what everyone
Exactly.
else is doing. Whereas
Yeah,
essentially
exactly.
clearing that, you're able to go, oh, actually, no, I am good enough and I do belong here and I do deserve to be here and I didn't get here by accident.
100%. Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. So was there a specific round, maybe that one that you had, sort of immediately after one of our first couple of sessions, or a moment in where you was like, actually, something's genuinely shifted here?
Yeah, I wouldn't even say it was around Josh. I think it was more just like my practice become a lot better. Everything, even the first session, everything become a lot more structured. The way I talked to myself when I was practicing, the way I would give everything a meaning. Whereas before, I think I would play so well in practice because of how chilled I was. And I think I actually changed the practice to make it a little bit more pressured and trying to make it feel the same as a tournament. And that was probably the pinpoint for me, was like I was hitting balls with a out all the time. I was putting with outcomes. I wasn't doing anything. Like I wouldn't just be there hitting balls, for example. I wouldn't just hit them and be chilled. Because in like when you're in a bit of a flow, everything feels fine, right? Everything's fine. So that was probably the main thing. And then the first event I played, I, if I remember it, I think it was that Rand Park one. I'm pretty sure. And I come out of the blocks and played very nicely. I had 2 rounds, and it was like, and I made mistakes, but it didn't affect the rest of the round. So I think that was the thing, just proving to myself that I could get myself out of the state that I couldn't do beforehand.
Mm. Going on to the
Certainly the
first
main
tee
thing.
with a different approach, different things, different thoughts,
100%.
different
Yeah.
feelings.
And believing and telling myself that it was going to be a good day, not
Mm.
telling myself, if I didn't feel quite right, that it was going to be a tough day.
Yeah. Now, obviously, when we sort of wrapped up the first 6 weeks, we both knew that there was a long wait, right? It was like
Yeah.
January, start of January, and it was like, yeah, I've got until the end of March now, until Q school. And it was like, well, great, this is our chance to go away and get some more data and get some more feedback, and experiment with the thoughts and feelings that you've got. And obviously, I know from conversing with you and messaging you and just seeing how things were going that it was just like this compounding effect of just positive after reflection to positive, and it was just, most people would think, oh, it's too good to be true. It sounds too good to be true. But how could you describe that experience from that first tournament and how everything was moving and preparing you towards Q School?
I think I just took every event on the lead up to Q School as a learning experience, instead of, I would never walk off the golf course and reflect on my golf swing. I would reflect on how well I was mentally.
What do you
Um,
mean by that?
so, like, previously, I would pinpoint different shots and I'd make them, the first thing I'd go to is, why did that happen? It must have been swing related. Whereas I would walk off the golf course in these events and think, what mentally did I do wrong? What mentally did I do right? And then that just helped me. So obviously all the stuff you gave me, what we spoke about, different things, I would then sit there and think, did I get myself out of a feeling that I didn't like? Was my pre-shot routine always the same? If it was, then I'd look at the score. And 9 times out of 10, if I was feeling good and I was doing the pre-shot routine right, my goal, I would walk away with a good score and I'd be in a good position. So I think it was shifting the way I reflected on rounds in a more positive way.
Yeah.
And obviously, I had that first event I played really nicely, and then I shot. I think I was tied fifth going into the final round, and then I shot that 79 on the final day. And I remember speaking to you about it, and I told myself from the first tee that I felt too far away from the golf ball. My grip didn't feel right. And then for the rest of the day, that was, when I look back at it now, I'm really glad I had that day because that helped for Q school. I didn't feel comfortable for every round of golf in the Q school, but I mentally told myself that I was comfortable.
Mm.
So I think I would just went into these events with an open mind. I was going, I was obviously practicing very hard and I wanted to do well, but I was making sure that the stuff we done, I was practicing that more so than practicing the golf swing. And sitting here now, it all paid off because mentally last week I was the strongest I've ever been.
Mm. And it's funny as well because obviously I know you, I know what you've done since we finished work, and I don't know if you'd agree with me, but I feel like you're an ambitious guy and you work hard because you really want it and you're desperate for it. But would you say that actually you did less leading up to it than you would have done previously in terms of how
In
much
terms
you
of
practiced, how
performances,
much you thought about golf, because
oh,
I know what you've
massively,
been
yeah.
doing off the golf course,
No,
but the people watching don't.
I would say if you put it in times and hours, I've done a lot less practice this year than I have, in years prior. But then in the hours, I've done very productive stuff. I've kind of,
Yeah,
I've got a better understanding of my body now. So it was like before, even if I was tired, even if I was run down, I would still go and hit golf balls. I would still go putt, I would still go chip. And then when I was off the golf course, I'd be analysing my golf swing and everything would be so golf related. Whereas this year, if I didn't want to go practice and I didn't feel, the body was tired, I just wouldn't go and practice. And I was okay with that. I didn't have itchy feet. I didn't have a little voice in my head saying you need to practice. So I think I allowed my body to recover a lot better this year. And when you're playing tournament golf, it takes a toll on you. So you do need days off. And like in the evenings and stuff, when I was off the golf course, I was off the golf course. I wasn't thinking about golf. I was thinking about other things. I was chilling. And then I think that helped to be able to turn it on and off. So
yeah,
when I was at the golf course, I was there. I wasn't thinking of anything else.
yeah,
And that it definitely helps get the more productive practice done.
yeah. Well, I know from this being my job that the reason why it was like that before is when you're operating from fear, you're operating from a place of I've got something to prove, like an insecurity, like a lack. And it's like if I've got to keep going because otherwise this is going to happen and all the bad things are going to happen. But when you fully believe in yourself and back yourself and you have that confidence and know as well with a bit of structure that I've done enough and that I am enough,
Yeah,
you then no longer need to like fight the urge to go and do more. Like I've got to do more. I've got to show myself that I'm ready and this and well, the difference is that you fully believed that you were ready and you felt ready. It's not just
exactly.
like you're trying to put a distraction in the way. Like you went fishing on the third morning of your Q score.
Yeah,
Most people would think that's fucking ludicrous. But I was like, that's a
yeah.
guy that is like calm and ready to go out and work. He's just trying to fill some time, right? Rather than
100%.
it's not a if I go fishing, I'll stop thinking about golf. It's that I don't need to be thinking about golf right now. So what else can I do?
Well, yeah,
There's a
exactly. And I
difference.
think that with the weather delays and stuff that happened this year, with all the rain that happened on the Sunday prior to the event, with the course being closed on Sunday and Monday, if I went into that event last year with the same way I was thinking, having 2 days off of golf before that event, my head would not be in a good spot. I
Mm.
would be Tuesday, I would be hitting balls until my hands bled, and I would, because I think, I've lost 2 days of golf.
Yeah,
So I would do so much, and then I'd get on the tee Wednesday, and nothing would have changed, but I would have just felt fucked.
yeah,
My body would have been tired. I wouldn't be mentally sharp. So I think, whereas this year it was like, oh, I've got 2 days off. That's quite nice actually, because I'm going
yeah,
to have a lot of golf coming up. So is that, and even with the delays throughout the week, it was it really didn't bother me. It was kind of like, oh, I'll go hit balls in the morning then, or I'll go hit balls for 40 minutes
Mm.
later on this evening when the storm clears. I think it was that helped me be very relaxed throughout the week, and it didn't really matter how many delays there was, which was massive. Because, we had delays pretty much every day.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into the details of the Q School experience in a minute, but
Yeah,
before that, given everything that we've covered so far, from describing yourself as sort of inconsistent and not able to do the things that you wanted to do in tournaments compared to now, how would you describe yourself as a golfer now compared to when you started?
very consistent. Every day I kind of feel like I'm the same golfer out there. I'm shooting bright scores every time I go out there. What did I have? 6 events this year and Q School. I want to say I missed one cut. I had that one 79. But apart from that, it was all very good scoring. The lead up to it there wasn't the inconsistent of if I'm playing well, then I drop in that weird score. It was like every round was kind of similar. I shot level par as a worst score, and I shot 2, 3 under, and it was just everything felt. I finished most weeks under par, which is massive, or level par. So there wasn't the inconsistency of shooting. For example, let's say if I got off to a good start in the events, then I would keep that momentum going. It wasn't like I shot a 3 under and then I backed out with a 6 over. It was like I kind of everything moved in the right direction. So yeah, just as far as that is just no, definitely a lot less of the inconsistency. You're going to have bad weeks as a golfer. We're not all robots. We're gonna have, and I think it's accepting that. I accept, that you're not gonna golf. You're not gonna win tournaments all the time. It's just not golf. You're in the dip. No one wins tournaments every week and things like that. But I think it's accepting that, and that just makes it a lot easier to be more consistent.
Yeah.
If
With you,
it's not going,
go on.
I said, yeah, like if it's not going the way it needs to, I
Mm.
kind of find a way of getting myself closer to a score which is acceptable in my head. So it's like I don't throw my toys out the pram and I don't let it affect that round. The fighting, I'm a lot better at fighting back mid round, which is good.
So when you say, in terms of being more consistent, fighting back better from and responding better from mistakes and analyzing you as a person, not the score and the outcome, you spoke heavily about how going into a tournament, you'd already be starting with those thoughts. Where are those thoughts now?
And then nowhere to be seen. I don't have them thoughts anymore. Everything's positive now. I start the week with a fresh mind. I start the week with, I play to win now. That's probably a better answer.
Mm,
Is I'm turning up to the events playing to win. I'm not trying to play for the cup, and stuff like that. I'm not, because when you like previous years, I'm playing to make the cut, and then you find yourself you're always on the cut line, and then it's very stressful. But every time start of the week, I'm out there to win, and that shows. My scoring has shown massive improvements just from having that mindset shift.
yeah. Yeah.
I never feel, most rounds in them 6 events on the lead up, barring one event, the cut was never a question
Mm.
because I wasn't thinking that way. It was like I'd finished day 1 in top 10 or whatever that was. I'd finished day 2 around the same, and it was like I never played like I barely played around the golf thinking that I was going to miss a cut. I just wasn't. It wasn't a thought. The thought was I'm just going to go and try and shoot the best I can, and I'm trying to win this event.
Mm. There's no more thoughts of don't fuck this up because you don't belong here and you need to prove yourself that you belong here. It's more about let me
Exactly.
show
Yeah.
you what I can do.
Exactly.
Show
Yeah. No.
yourself what you can do.
100%. Yeah. It's not like, oh, I don't feel too good this morning. This sort of shit. It was more like, right, we're going to go play and we're going to play with what we've got today.
Yeah.
That's kind of. I adapted very well. If it didn't feel quite right, I was hitting the ball a little bit differently. Like I usually hit a fade, but if I was hitting draws on the range, then I'd start hitting draws on the golf course and things like that. Just found myself being able to play the game a lot better and not worried about if it didn't feel great, then
Yeah.
just try and. It doesn't have to look pretty, you know. A lot of rounds of golf are not pretty. You're not going to hit shots all the time. We're not going to go through 18 holes with shots that are perfect. So I think just having that mindset shift of trying to win the event helped me dig deep a little bit more and
Yeah.
understand that it doesn't have to feel great to play well.
Yeah. I love that. It's not coming from a sense of lack. It's just adapting, being adaptable with what you've got and what you see,
Yeah,
not thinking
exactly.
that
Yeah,
something's wrong.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Not worrying like if it doesn't feel right, then I know how to play the game, so I'll just play with just go and play golf. Don't worry about things, and it does help when you're not worried about the bad shot, and it does help when you're not thinking about the bad shot.
Yeah.
You
And
know, every round of golf I would be so shit hot on the pre-shot routine that I wouldn't make stupid mental errors that I would do beforehand.
yeah.
So I wouldn't. I've never hit a golf shot rushed. I would always know where was the miss, where's the right miss, where's the pin, what's the wind doing, and there was a whole process that I would go through to make sure that I'm not just hitting shots willy nilly. Everything had a meaning. And I think that was a big improvement from working with you as well. It's just do the easy things well. You know, we can control the controllables.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
if we can,
everything you say, they're all signs and a result of operating from a belief that I belong here. Because all of those other thoughts and feelings, whether it's not going right on the range, whether you're not following your process, whether you're comparing to other people, it's all from a sense of I'm not enough and I need to try and be enough and prove enough. Rather than now is it's clear to see that it's I belong here. This is what I do. This is how I do it, and what's the best that could happen.
exactly, yeah, no, 100% agree.
Now, I want to move in before we sort of wrap this up. I want to move into last week, right?
Yeah,
Because obviously you signing up with me and doing the work, it was all for this next step. It was all for believing that you were good enough to get your Sunshine Tour card, which was the goal. It's why
yeah,
you sacrificed a lot of time to go out and move to South Africa and commit to it. Um, and for it to all pay off is beautiful, right? But this is probably one of the hardest parts of being a mental performance coach for golfers is that I'm not there. I'm there and by text and message and stuff. But as you see with other sports, I can call a timeout. I can speak to you. I can do all this stuff and just as you're going along, maybe feeding and drip feed. Not that you need it, but like if things are maybe spiraling or things are going well, you just want to say something, right? Uh,
yeah.
Not that you necessarily need to, but there's that urge, and that's from me sitting on the outside. I mean, I was watching the live things. Had it on another screen, just refresh, just see how things are
Yeah,
going. Because I was, we worked hard and we put a lot of work in it, and you invested in it, and I was like,
oh, for
this is
sure.
it. This is everything has come down to this moment. Essentially, it is just another 5 rounds of golf, but it's another 5 round of golf that can, project your career, which is what you wanted. Um, and obviously we were talking a little bit, and there was a lot of disruptions, so we probably spoke more than maybe we would normally. Um, but talk us through the whole experience. The whole 5 days, maybe even a little bit before it. What was the environment like, and what was the pressure like for you going into it?
Yeah, the pressure's always look. Q schools are not nice weeks. You know, there's so much pressure on it. It's not. No one really understands it until you play one because there's no next week with a Q school. You know, it's just that week. This is a week that sorts your year out. So the pressure is massive. The pressure's high. Um, leading up to it, I'd say I didn't really put much pressure on myself at all. Kind of everything flowed quite nicely going into it. Um, the practice rounds were fine. I felt good. Everything was ticking. And then round one, everything felt fine. And then I just put a load of pressure on myself. You know, I really felt the pressure of the golf tournament because you hit bad shots and you think the bad shots feel. You feel like in a Q school you can't hit bad shots because everyone's going to be playing pretty well, and doubles and triples and stuff just feel like they're going to knock you out of it. And and I look, I made a triple. I think it was on the first round. I made a triple on the 10th hole. Um, and that was because I was in my own way for 9 holes. I wasn't hitting it great. The pressure kind of built up a little bit, and then that was the big kind of bombshell of that. Um, and then I think after that, I kind of just that triple was probably the best thing for me because I got it out of the way, and that was like a big bomb. There you go. And then I went back to back birdies, and then I felt a lot better within myself after that. But yeah, look, there's like I said, it's not a nice week. You're feeling stressed the whole week. Everyone's feeling stressed. You can kind of see it. No one really looks like they're feeling. No one's talking to each other really. Everyone's there to because there's so much on the line. Simple as that. You've got if you miss a Q school, you've got nothing to play for the year unless you have a tour to play on already. So I think that's the vibe. I was staying with two mates who were playing as well. We were pretty good off the course, but there was still that sort of you could feel the tension there a little bit because everyone was on edge.
So
Um,
what do you think helped you not necessarily say stay calm, but I know that focus was a big thing for you back but when we were working together. What do you think helped you just stay focused and just think one shot at a time? You know, like coming, not a lot of people can bounce back from triples with two birdies.
no, I think it was just the work we had done. I went into that week not thinking that I wasn't going to walk out with a card. There was always a little voice in my head that was saying that I was going to get a card.
Do you remember
So I
the,
think,
sorry to interrupt, but do you remember the conversation that we had? I think it was the week before, and I think you'd played in another event. I can't remember the exact outcome, but I said, if you play like that next week, what's going to happen? And you went,
yes, I'll
I'll have
get
a
a
tour
card.
card.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think that's what helped me with the focus and stuff. Even though, look, I played, so there was 5 rounds of golf. I only felt comfortable for 1 round of golf. The second round, everything felt normal that round. I hit the ball unbelievably off the tee. I wedged it close and I shot 5 under bogey free.
Was
And
that
that
second
felt
round?
second round, yeah, that was. And that felt, the golf swing and everything about that day felt easy. But the other four, I probably lost my golf swing for 6 holes in each of them rounds.
You didn't go
And it
searching
did,
for it.
but I didn't go, yeah, exactly. I wasn't, and it didn't chew away at me. And I think that for me was like I had it on the first day, lost my golf swing, didn't feel great, but I dug deep and I shot 1 under. I equalled the last. That was probably the highlight of the week. I hit 7 wood to like 15 foot and hold the putt to shoot under par that round. And when I look back at it now, that shot probably stemmed a lot of the stuff that happened for the rest of the week. I think if I shoot one over, yeah, I'm going to be in a little bit of a different mindset going into the next day.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it was the way I could just bounce back from mistakes, the way I could turn it on when I needed to. It was kind of, but like I said, it was. I think it's because mentally I told myself I was going to get a card,
Mm.
so anything could happen. I think, and I was always going to have that sort of mindset.
Yeah, well, like you said earlier, you were sort of playing to make cuts. Do you remember you said like last time you'd played to just be happy to make a cut? It's quite defensive, it's quite protective, it's not your golf, it's not free golf. You've probably heard me say it to you before about like the self-fulfilling prophecy, right? You become what you tell yourself you are. And if you tell yourself you're going in to play for a cut, you're going to play for a cut. If you go in and tell yourself you're going to
Exactly.
get a card, people say that's ludicrous. It's like manifestation. It's not. You have the attitude to bounce back from mistakes. You said you didn't feel comfortable in 4 out of 5 rounds. You didn't go
Yeah,
searching for anything. You didn't feel a lack of anything. You didn't feel like you didn't belong. You just went out and you did what you needed to do. That
exactly right.
makes a
Yeah, and
big difference.
yeah, and like you just said there, it's because I told myself that I was going to get a card, so I could, if it didn't feel right, I wasn't like sitting there thinking of, oh, this is now, I still had, because obviously Dad was on the bag, we laugh about it, I still had some big head offs and things like that because it means so much. So,
Yeah.
I'd blame him for things and then I would say some stuff like, oh, this is really detrimental, I'm not going to get a card because of this, but it's all the heat of the moment stuff. But, when I come off the golf course after the first round, second round, third round, fourth round, whatever, I would always tell myself that I was still going to get a card. No matter what happened, I could hit bad shots and I could have them head offs, but I think that you're human. You're gonna I think it's good in a way for me. I've learned that I need to let it out as well.
Yeah,
But I
everyone's
just
everyone's different.
exactly. But I think it's I can let it out, but it just cannot come to the next shot.
Yeah,
And which I
100%.
done a very good job of. It was like, right, get it all out, walk into the golf ball, and once you're at the golf ball, then the routine sticks in again.
Mm.
And I think that was a big thing that I was able to do. Whereas beforehand, without the work I'd done with you, it was like, yeah, I could let it all out, but it wasn't gone by the time I needed to hit the next shot.
With linger.
So yeah, it would linger, yeah, and it would stay for a couple of holes, 2, 3 holes, whatever it may be. But whereas last week showed, I can make mistakes and I can make a shit ton of birdies, afterwards, which is it's massive to know. And it's a big learning curve, but I do, like I said to you, I feel like a different golfer out there,
Mm.
and I really do. And I think there'll be a lot of confidence that comes from that week that I can bring into the season. And look, no, I can say this now, and I think it will be right. Obviously, I might come to different hurdles, but I don't think I'm ever going to feel the way I felt last week in a tournament this year, just with the stress and the stuff, because I know there's always next week, and I know there's always another opportunity. And if things aren't quite going my way, I know that I can pull through and make it go my way. So I think there'll be a lot of stuff I see this year where I can now stand on the first tee and tell myself that I can make mistakes and be fine with that. Which for the first couple of years, I told myself you can't make mistakes, but you can. You're going to make them, and it's how well you come back from them mistakes.
Where do you think that acceptance has come from?
Doing the stuff with you, to be honest with you, learning. I think it's having ways to deal with like what we said with the frustration and stuff. That was a big thing for me. Being able to deal with that and get myself into that better state of mind and being able to do it pretty quickly has allowed me to accept mistakes, because I can, let's say I hit a bad tee shot and that's a big mistake for me. I can then, if it's made me frustrated and it's made me have negative thoughts, I can find a way to get
Mm.
them thoughts gone and that feeling gone. So I think it's having the tools to be able to do that,
Yeah.
definitely.
I think
And
for me,
without
go on.
without what we done, I wouldn't have them tools, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't know how to get out of that state.
Because I always say that, I don't doubt that tools can help, but I think there just needs to be a right time and a place for the right tool. Um,
Yeah,
and me being the coach knows the science behind why you feel like this, but you feeling like that is great that you can respond, you have the tools and not feeling like you need them for like survival. It's like, well, I know what I need to do if I get to this point, not I'm operating on the belief that I don't belong here. So all the other stuff is distraction. I can't focus. I can't move on. Anger
yeah,
lingers, emotions keep, and we're allowed to have emotions. If you'd gone out there and let's say I was on your bag and I'd seen you have a head off, I wouldn't tell you to stop. I'd just make
mm,
sure it was gone before the next shot, which by the sounds of it
exactly.
was. Because, well, what does that show me? It shows me that you fucking care and that you really want it. It doesn't
Yeah,
show me
exactly.
that you're immature. It doesn't show me that you need to control your emotions. Emotions are what makes you human.
Exactly
My
right.
job is not to turn you into a robot that has no emotions and can just go out there and operate without, being a real person, a real human. It's to be able to bring yourself back to the moment. It's like, right, we're at the next shot now. Has it gone? Yeah, cool. Right, where are we going? What are we doing?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly, and that's what me and Dad done a very good job of. I'd hit a bad shot, I'd get it all out of my system. We'd open the yardage book up, we'd get the number, and then it was like, right, routine's back in. It was like Dad done a very good job. He wouldn't like tell me to sort it out or be like, what are you doing? Like, get
let you
rid of
do it.
this negative stuff. He would just be like, right, what's the number? What do you fancy here? What's the shot here?
Yeah,
Where are you
good.
trying to hit it? So no, it was very good for that sense. And yeah,
Did
the
you
ability just to click in and out of the negative stuff, and then right, the shot now. Let's deal with this.
did you tell him to do that and to let you do that, or does he just know you?
No, I think he just knows me, but I think he saw a very different golfer as well. I think he was quite shocked in a way very shocked because he'd seen what I was like before, and he'd seen that if things weren't going my way, it would stay not going my way for the time. I wouldn't be able to pull myself into. I wouldn't be able to pull myself out of a hole, and he's never seen that side of it. So I think for him, it kind of come as a shock. So he picked up on that.
One question I always love to ask, because I think in this work, it's very easy for maybe me to see the difference. It's very easy for maybe to you for you to feel the difference. But when it comes to external people, dad, family members, do they see a difference?
Yeah, he said to me last night. He said, "You look like the most confident player there." You
Wow.
know, he said like he hadn't seen that side of it that I'd shown him this week. You know, he'd never. I think it's because I just kept doing it. You know, 90 holes is a long time. I had three big bad holes, but I think I made 25 birdies and an eagle this week. So I just kept, and I think it was like every time I made a mistake, I backed it up with a good shot. And it was like for him, I think that's where he saw the main difference.
Love
And he
that.
saw, and you know, I would be speaking to him, and I said to him, I was like, I feel like I'm going to get my card. And I think he picked up on things like that as well. He was like, I would never have that sort of mindset before.
Mm.
You know, we laughed at one point because the house we stayed at had a lake in the garden. We were driving back from the second round. We needed some like hooks and stuff like that, and he said, "Oh no, don't worry about it." And I said to him, "No, it's good for the soul. We got a fish." And I think little things like that throughout the course of the week he picked up on as being like Carter's changed quite a bit. You
Yeah.
know, he's kind of mentally a lot stronger than he's ever seen it before. Because you know he hasn't watched much of my golf, but I've played a lot with him. I've played a lot sociably with him, and you know he's not naive. He's seen my scores over the last couple of years, and he's seen the difference in November to now from 2 years ago to November. And you know anyone looking at it can see there's been a big difference. And the only thing that has changed, I've had a different golf coach, granted, but the only thing properly that has changed is working with you, and the proper reason for that to have changed.
Love that. I
So
didn't hear
there's
you say that, by the way, if you're watching this.
yeah.
Um, when you secured your card on that Monday, because I know
Yeah.
obviously you'd done the work and it was like, right now I've got to, it's just in the lands of what everyone else does around me. I've put in the work. I think another round under par on the harder golf course, um, which I just thought was fucking brilliant. What a way to finish. I was just like, I was over the moon. And because the app is terrible at refreshing, and I was like, he should be done by now. I was thinking, and it didn't have another weather delay in blue right, and I was thinking, it should be done by now. What's going on? And then you messaged me, and I think it said I was on a call, and I felt the buzz, and I was like, oh God. And I looked after it, said got it, and I was like, fucking get in. But what I want to know is when you secured that card, what was the first thing that went through your mind?
I think I think it was a sense of relief in a way, kind of like I'd worked a year. I didn't get my card last year, so I'd worked a year to get ready for this 1 week. So I think it was a sense of relief and proud in a way that I actually showed up when I needed to show up. And you go to Q School for one job. Yes, you go in there to win, but you go in there to finish top 25 to get your card. So if you win, you get a little bit of a better category, but top 25 and below is still a win because you've
Mm.
got the card for the season. So I think it was, the sense of relief and, just the excitement as well of knowing that I've got all these events coming up and all these massive opportunities now. And but in a weird way, I kind of was prepared for it to come. Like it didn't shock me. There was no sense of shock when I walked off the green, and I was like, I've probably got my card now because I generally fully believed that I was going to get it. There was no I'm in an R in or like, oh, I might get this, I might not. It was like I fully believed. I would say 6 weeks beforehand, that's when it fully started, and from then on, I just fully believed that I was going to get my card. I was going to be playing on the Sunshine Tour this year, and that. So I think the sense of shock and things like that didn't. It just there. It wasn't there because I just knew. I kind of. There was always that little voice in the back of my head saying that was going to happen. So yeah, just proud, excited, and just buzzing really. Like I've got a year to play now.
Mm.
Load of events. It's going to be travelling around South Africa, going to places like Zimbabwe, Zambia, and it's just going to be a cool experience and something. I'm going to remember this forever now. Even if let's say I stop playing golf or whatever it be, at least I can sit there and have had a year or whatever may be. I've done what I've been working so hard to do. So that's cool in that sense. I can sit here now and be excited for things like that, not
Yeah.
searching for other things.
Yeah, it's brilliant, mate. Honestly, it's brilliant. And with what you just said there, and like fully believe in it and whatnot, some people watching this might think, like, how did he know that? Surely that's not right. That won't work for everyone. So, if somebody is watching this and they think that mental performance coaching sounds interesting from everything you've just said, but they're not sure it'll work for them, what would you say?
I don't think there's a world where it can't not. I think if you truly believe it enough, you get what you believe. And I'm a prime example of that. I started fully believing it and then I got exactly what I wanted. So I would say if you're umming and ahhing, you're on the fence about doing mental coaching with yourself, I would just jump in. What's the worst that can happen? There's not. I can only see. I'd be very shocked if a player worked with you and didn't get better, and they didn't get, or they didn't. Let's say maybe not get better straight away. I think mine was quite a quick thing because I think that was, like I said to you at the start of the call, that was this mental stuff was the main issue for me. But I think maybe on the sense of as a golfer, you're gonna find what the issue is pretty quickly by doing
Mm.
the stuff with you. You're gonna understand like, oh, that's what I was doing. So I think you're gonna be able to, as a player, you can find out what's holding you back mentally.
Yeah.
And then look, if it doesn't work on the mental side, then as a player, you need to go and go, right, well, mentally I'm very strong. That's now ticked off. So why is the performance not getting better? Okay, well, maybe I need to look at the golf swing now.
Yeah.
So I
Oh,
think it just helps tick off the mental side and get you in a position where, right, I fully believe in myself mentally. So why is the golf not
mm.
changed? Okay, well
Yeah.
now I need to go and change coach. I need to go and focus on different parts of the game.
Yeah. I mean, you need the perfect blend of confidence, self-belief, but also competence. Like,
Yeah,
there's no good being the world's most talented golfer and inside your head is a complete mess. Because you're
yeah,
going to be, essentially like you when you started, inconsistent.
mm-hmm.
And there's no good having a really, really, really strong mental game and eight handicapper ability of golf, right? Because it's
yeah.
not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But then when you merge the two and you continue to develop and work on the two, they work together, and essentially we
Yeah,
get what we're seeing here and we're talking about now, right? Which yeah, I completely understand. But if somebody was to say, "Oh, do you know what? I just figure it out on my own," what would you say to them?
I'd say I don't think it's a very wise decision. I think you need to. I don't think you can figure it out on your own. I really don't because I think if I look at it from my perspective, I did not know what I was doing wrong because these thoughts were so ingrained in myself that I didn't think they were negative. I didn't think I had a handbrake on. I didn't think. So I think if you're trying to figure out with yourself, you need to. I think if you think you can figure out yourself, you, you don't have a mental problem,
Mm,
because for me, like I knew that I generally could not think. There was no way I could figure it out for myself.
yeah, yeah, I love that. I think you highlighted it when you said about you always knew there was something, but you wasn't sure what it was. But as soon as you did know what it was and where it was coming from, and when we managed to remove it, it was like a whole different world. Um,
Exactly, yeah. And
which
then
not many people do. That you know what you're experiencing, you know what you're feeling, you might not be able to label it, but you need to be asked the right questions to be able to identify it properly. And actually,
exactly,
or what is the rule that your subconscious mind has created here? Um,
exactly right.
and why are we thinking and feeling and operating from this place? So, yeah. And what would you say to somebody that would say, oh, I can't justify the investment of it right now?
I would say if you do, look, it's a hard one because it's you are investing quite a bit, and I think, but I would just say if you have the money and you have it aside, then you can justify it because it is going to help. I think it's going to be money well spent in that, in that sense. You're going to be able to, you're going to gain out of it, and
Mm.
that's for sure. You're definitely going to learn something. I think your golf's going to improve mentally. You're going to feel better. Um, and you're going to have, like I said to you earlier, I've got tools now to take into different things. So I think you're going to, as much as it might sound a little bit more expensive at the start, you're going to have tools that you can take away for the rest of your career, and you're going to have tools that you can build on. And a big thing that's helped, and I think with you, you're very good on your phone. You get back to messages really quickly and stuff. So yes, someone might sign up for 6 calls, let's say, but I found that I could text you whenever I wanted to. You would reply. So yes, you're getting 6 calls worth of stuff, but you're actually giving us a lot more time as players than it kind of says on the packaging. If you kind of agree with that in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was 4 calls, but it probably felt like six because you got so much time. You got so much time from me otherwise. Yeah. Um, and I think you said it on the feedback form. Not, and I'm not making this up. It was something along the lines of, um, oh, what did you say? S Having somebody who invests in your goals as well. I think for me, I care. It's like, well, that's why I do this job, right? It's to see that there is
Definitely.
something holding someone back and their potential back. Someone that's got the talent, the potential to go places, but they're being held back by themselves. The quicker I can make a difference in the way that they're thinking and feeling, whether that's through consolidation work in WhatsApp during, or emergency phone calls or whatever it is, I want to see you win. You know?
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty clear to me, which was, again, I don't want to make this about me, but when we was going through that last week, I was really feeling it, and I was like, this is fucking brilliant. I was watching you creep up the leaderboard, and then speaking to you afterwards, and it's one of those things that's weird. It just didn't feel like work. It was just like it felt like you'd someone I've known for a long time, and I was so invested in wanting you to win. It was just like, right, what can I do? What can I say? How can I make him think a little bit different? Not that you needed to. It was more just reassurance than anything. It was more just, yep, you're doing the right thing. Keep doing it. Um,
Definitely. Yeah. And I think that's like you hit the nail on the head. I invested in you as much as you invested in me. And I think that's why it worked so well. You generally wanted me to get better. You generally wanted to figure out causes of what was going wrong. And I think when you have a partnership like that, it does definitely help because like you said, you wanted me to do it just as much as I wanted myself to do it. So I think when you got someone who's coaching you with that mindset, you're only going to get beneficial stuff out of it.
mm, especially when you know how badly you can sense how badly from you said it yourself, the work that you did in between the calls. It's not just I'll turn up to the calls and hope that Josh fixes me on the calls because nothing
Yeah,
needs fixing. It's about the work that we do. And you might get a breakthrough on the call, but also the biggest breakthroughs happen outside of the calls. Like for you, going to more tournaments and going to put yourself in those scenarios and situations with the new tools, with the new feelings, with the new attitude, with the new beliefs that it would be silly for me to think that I can just have one call with you and then go, all right, off you go.
yeah,
It's like, right, okay. A way that my mentor liked to explain it was it's like brain surgery. Come in, open you up a little bit, look inside, start to move some bits around, get the scalpel out, but tie that together and take that bit out and put that bit in there and then stitch you up and then put you back together and then, right, let's go and see what happens now. Um,
yeah,
and then you come back for your checkup and then another checkup and then another checkup and we start to you know It's not just here's a pill, go and take this pill, and
Yeah, exactly. No, no, yeah. If
uh,
you look, and I think that comes down to as well. Like if a player wants to come and work with you, they need to be willing to put the work in as well
mm,
to get. They can't. I showed up to you with a mindset that I was going to take everything in. I was going to generally learn everything. I was going to spend some time off the calls, researching little things, and I was going to do all the mental stuff that you told me to do, the breathing exercises, whatever it be. And I think if someone generally wants to get the most out of it, they can't just show up and think talking to you in a call is going to. Like, yes, the talking to you in a call is going to help, but they need to be in the call thinking that right, I'm taking everything in and I'm going to generally do all the stuff. Even the
yeah,
visualization stuff that you got me to do on the range and things like that. I was doing that religiously every time I'd hit balls, and I think that's why I got so much out of it. And I feel like a lot has changed in a short period of time because I made sure that I was shit hot with all of that stuff. I
yeah,
wasn't just gonna I wasn't gonna turn up one day and think, oh, do you know what? I won't actually do that. I'll just go and hit balls. I was like, right, no, we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna keep doing it. So I forged it into my everyday stuff now. So every time I go to the golf course, every time I go to practice, every time I go to a tournament, everything is the same, and
yeah,
that kind of gets rid of the feeling of the thing for the tournaments with me now. It doesn't feel like a different thing to practice. It kind of feels like they've all blended in, which is, and I think that's why the scoring has improved so much.
yeah. Because you're not telling yourself the same stories about competitions.
Exactly.
But and this is I don't know if I said it at the start, but essentially this is a celebration of you and what you've done, not me. And my mentor used to always say, you have to want it for it to work. And it's pretty
Yeah.
clear when someone wants it to work because they do the work. Everything you've just explained is doing the work. You didn't just turn up
Yeah.
to the
Exactly.
calls and listen. You turn up to the calls, you give me what I need to hear, you help me help you, you go away and you put in the work. And it's pretty obvious to see when someone's doing the work and when they're not doing the work. So
Yeah.
that's when I say everything that has happened is you did this, you created it. I
Yeah.
gave you the tools and the frameworks to think and feel differently. But if you just turned up to calls and did nothing else, you probably wouldn't have your scorecard.
No,
um,
exactly right. No, exactly. You have to be invested in it, and you have to understand, like, right, if this is something I generally want to do and this is something I want to get better, you got to put in the work and you've
yeah,
got to be religious with it. And if you want it, because it's the only way you're going to change. You're
yeah,
not going to change just by, like, it's all well and good you giving me the tools, but if I'm not going to actually implement it, then it's not going to change, is it? So you have to be fully invested, and you have to, you can't go in there with a, like, I wouldn't say I come to you with like a what if mindset. It's
mm,
like as soon as we started working, it's like, right, okay, I like what we're doing. I think I texted you as soon as we had that call, and I was like, I've learned a lot from this first one already. And from then on, I kind of made that my personality for a little bit.
mm,
I made sure that everything, because like I said to you, I knew it needed a change, and I made a change. So I think that's definitely the advice I would give with golfers who wanted to come and start doing some work with you. Just make sure that, because you're gonna give them the tools that they need. There's no two ways about it. But they need to be the ones. Like, you can give someone the tools to change, but you can't physically change them. They need to change themselves. You're just giving them the tools and the advice and the debrief of what was going wrong, but they're the ones that need to do it.
mm.
So I think that's the biggest advice I would give to golfers coming to you, and golfers kind of skeptical about it. And if you're skeptical and you're like on the fence and you're a little bit, oh, I don't know if it would work, this sort of stuff, I think you need to go to you and be like, right, it's definitely going to work. I'm going to trust Josh. I'm going to, whatever he says, I'm going to go and implement. And then I think you'll reap the rewards of, you'll get out what you need to get out of it.
Beautifully said, like that. We're on to the last couple of questions here, bud. Now I'll let you go and enjoy your family time. I suppose I'd just love to know what is the one thing that has changed about you as a person that you're most proud of now?
Um, the ability to the ability to bounce back from mistakes, I think, is the biggest thing, and the ability to fully believe in myself as well. I think like I said to you when we first started speaking, I didn't really believe. I didn't fully believe that I could do what I wanted to do. Whereas now I kind of feel like the sky's the limit, and I do believe that I can get to where I want to be. I do believe I can win events, and I think that's the biggest difference. And being able to make mistakes and being okay with it, because I know I can bounce back from them. So I'm not really worried about the bad shot anymore.
And how do you know that that change is there? How do you know that you fully believe and that and everything like that?
Because I think Q School proved it all to me. I showed up when I needed to show up. I believed that I was going to get a card. I got my card. So I think that says it all, really. Like in simple terms, like we said, I worked a year to get a card, and I showed up in the week that I needed to show up. So I think that proves to me that I fully believe that I can do it, because I don't think you can. I don't think you can just show up to Q School without believing. To be honest, I don't think because the Q School's going to chew you out pretty quickly. So I think if you don't
Golf
believe,
does, right? Let alone Q School.
exactly.
Yeah.
So a normal tournament's going to chew you out, but Q School, if you don't believe you're going to get a card, 5 rounds is a lot of golf, and you're not. If you don't fully believe, you're not going to get a card. Simple as that. So I think that proves to me that I do believe now, definitely.
Brilliant. And lastly, where do you see yourself going from here?
I can see myself. I can see myself winning an event this year. In all honesty, I can see myself having a good season. But yeah, the main goal is to win one. The main goal is to go and win an event, and I do. I'm sitting here now. I do believe that I can go and do that. I think with the golf I can play and with the mindset I now have, like I said, I generally believe that can happen. And if it doesn't, I still think, I think I'll have a consistent, and I think I'll have a consistently good season this year. Oh. So, it's a good, definitely good. I wouldn't have this mindset a year ago. I think even if I got my card at Q School last year without doing the work with you, I think I still wouldn't. Don't think it'd be enough for me to fully believe it. Whereas now, I think I couldn't be going into this season with a better mindset.
Yeah, good. Well, I think it's especially with a time like you say there, a timing perspective. Honestly, it sends shivers down my spine when I think of all of the things and the adversity and what I've been through and where I've got to. When I hear the words of my mentor, I can hear it vividly. Of timing is everything. And with what's happened and how you now fully believe in yourself, and just hearing you say that, I fully believe I can win. And and even if it doesn't, it's still in the post.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I said that. You liked that, didn't you? When I said that? It's in the post.
Exactly.
Your card was in the post. You got it.
Got it.
Been delivered.
And look, I think it's never a bad thing either to believe you can win. It's hard to win. I know that, and I'm just by me saying I think I can win, I know it's not going to make me win an event. But I think going into a season believing that I can win is, I've got more chance of winning if I believe that way, instead of going in there and thinking, oh, I might be able to compete, but I don't think I can win. Whereas, if I'm going to go to every event this year with the belief that I can win. I'm going to go to every event trying to win the event. Yeah. And I think with that mindset, you're gonna have a better season overall than just going there to make cuts. I've got no interest in trying to come 30th every week. Granted, if I come 30th every week, I'd probably be quite happy over the course of a season. But I'm not going to go into every event with a mindset, oh, let's just try and play for 30th. No, I'm going to try and play to win. And then I'll have more chance of coming 30th and places like that. So I think that's a big mind shift for me. But yeah, fully believe it, and just excited to get going.
Yeah, I love that. You're right. What's his name? Brett McCabe says it, self-belief is the biggest tool that any professional golfer can have. It doesn't mean that,
Yeah,
the outcome is guaranteed. It just means that you will be able to put up with any fight and challenge you come up against.
exactly.
Stepping into a
Um,
new threshold, new challenge, you can do it.
yeah, no, definitely, and that's where, like you said, the timing of all this has been perfect. And I would probably, obviously, I don't know, but I would say going into this season on the Sunshine Tour, after doing the stuff that I've done with you, is going to make this season a hell of a lot easier than without doing the work, that's for sure.
Mm,
I'm
love
not
it.
going to turn up and feel out of place. I'm not going to turn up and feel like I need to copy what other people are doing. I'm going to go there, do my own thing.
Mm,
Um, Whatever that may be, the warm up stuff that I do, I'm not going to be worried about how others are warming up. I'm just going to go there and play golf and play my golf.
beautifully said. Any last words for listeners?
I think we've covered it all, to be honest with you. I don't think I've got much more to say other than,
You're worded out.
yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, all I'd say is I'd emphasise how good it has been to have you, and how much you've helped me. So if anyone watching this wants to get involved, then I'd say go for it. There wouldn't be one reason that I would say not to do it. I couldn't think of any. There wouldn't be anything. So there's, anyone watching this, anyone thinking they want to get involved, I would say 100%. I've only got positive things to say, and I think what I've just done is very good proof that the stuff you do and the stuff you teach us, and all that sort of stuff does work. As simple as I come to you trying to get Sunshine Tour card, we done the work, and then I come out the other end with a card. So I think the proof's in the pudding there.
Yeah, I love it. Beautifully said. I'll send you your tenner later.
Yeah, there you go.
Um, but no, look, I will just second that, and also say that the work in you getting where you did was also to do with what you did as well. You know, I
Exactly,
know I've
yeah.
said it before, but it doesn't work for everyone. It only works for people that want it to work and fully believe in it and fully trust it, and you did, and that's why you sat there today. So
Yeah, no.
hats off to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of this season. I will
Yeah.
be watching
Yeah. A
closely.
lot of leaderboard watching.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I've got two screens. It's the only reason I've got two
Yeah.
screens. But no, look, I appreciate you coming on and giving me 90 minutes. I know it's probably gone a bit over, but I enjoyed the chat. I appreciate you coming on and giving me your time. I know this is your time off, and you got a lot of rest before a big season ahead. But I'll be rooting for you, and
Appreciate it.
if we can if you're back and we can get something in next week, that would be great.
Yeah.
I'd love to. I mean, I played yesterday, and it was. You know what? It was actually all right. 8 months
Was
off.
it?
Um, hit the ball
Was,
really well, but it's just the same stuff you lose after 8 months. But to be honest, I was
yeah,
shocked
exactly.
myself. Um, so yeah, if we can get
Nice. Well, it was
lucky,
good
that'd be
weather
great.
yesterday as well, wasn't it?
Sorry.
It was nice weather yesterday as well,
Oh,
wasn't
it's
it? Believe it or
beautiful.
not.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We
So
lucked
not
out
perfect.
massively. But yeah, look, listen,
100%.
really, really appreciate you coming on, and we'll keep in touch. But for now,
100%.
it's been a pleasure. It's been an
Appreciate it,
honor to
Josh.
do what we did together. And if anyone's listening and wants to know a little bit more, just either hit the link in the description below or reach out to me or Carter ourselves, and I'm sure he'll be able to put in a good word. But um,
Yeah.
the doors are open, so if you've got any questions, just give me a message. But for now, Carter, it's been an honor, and I will speak to you soon.
Cheers, Josh. Appreciate
Take
it,
care,
mate.
bud.
And you.